Welcome to another class. We are going to be diving into money scripts today. Money scripts are basically like our money behaviors, and just we're going to be talking about how they affect our money habits, how they affect our spending, how we could possibly make sure that we recognize what script that we have so that it does not affect our financial journey. So that is what we're talking about today. Please, if you have any questions, you could drop it in the comment box. Also, let me know where you are joining me from. Welcome to another organized money class. I'm super excited about this one. As y'all all know, I am studying to become a financial therapist. And on that journey, it has me going down deep holes around different money topics. And this was one of those money topics. This is a really, really interesting topic, one that I had never heard of before, but I am super excited to talk about it today. So let me know where you're joining me from. Hello, I see you all in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining me. And like I said, today we are going to be talking about money scripts. So what is a money script? Let me make it a little bit bigger so that you all can see. A money script refers to the unconscious beliefs and patterns about money. This is often found in our childhood. Usually this happens within our childhood, and they shape our financial behaviors. They shape our decisions. So basically we are kind of have a natural tendency to lean on one script or another. Some of us have multiple scripts throughout different areas of our life, just depending on different things that we have kind of going on. But we need to know about these money scripts. We need to know why they affect us, how they cause our spending to get off, and the different things that kind of affect our overall habits that we have. And so this is why we're talking about this topic, because a lot of times this is unconscious. We are not consciously trying to do these things. It just kind of happens. And when we get in a financial bind, we're not really quite sure how we ended up there, but it's usually because of some type of script, some type of unconscious behavior that we already have. And so that is why we're diving into this topic today. So that is what a money script is. The term money script was first coined in 2011 by a financial psychologist. His name is Dr. Brad Klontz. He was one that started to study the belief patterns or scripts that most people would tell themselves about money. And so during his studies, during his work, he really said that most of these money scripts are unconscious, meaning that we don't even know why we do some of the things that we do around money. It is really kind of an unconscious behavior based on the history that we have with money. And usually these scripts are formed in childhood. So they drive our financial behavior as an adult, but usually we started thinking this way as a child. And so we likely kind of talked about this in last week's class. And a lot of you in the comments asked me to do a deeper dive on money scripts, on what they do, on how they affect us, how they affect our spending, and how we could possibly get better with them. And so that is why we're diving into this one today. And it is really, like I said, it's unconscious. But the more that we start to study and learn about them, the more conscious we become about these scripts, and then the better we become overall with handling the different scripts that we have and making better financial decisions. So that's why we are diving into it today. All right. So what are we going to be talking about? We've already defined money scripts and talked about the fact that they are our financial behaviors. We already talked about what is a script. It starts from your childhood. It usually lasts until you're an adult, and it affects a lot of the decisions, the behaviors, and the different things that you currently doing. It affects it. So I'm going to give you a little bit information about me in our next slide, but we are going to dive into our warning signs. We are also going to talk about how knowing this information is going to help us with our financial behavior. And then we are going to dive into the scripts themselves. We are going to dive into all four of the money scripts, and I'm going to give you some pros and cons and things that you can watch out for and signs behind each and every one. So if you have never seen my face before, this is your very first class. Hi, I am Elena. I'm a productivity and money coach. I help people organize their life, their money, and their business. So my company is called The Organized Money. I would love for you to subscribe if this is your very first time on this channel. I really do love helping people organize their time, their money, and their business on paper. I'm always talking about my Tom 90 planner and how I use it. It's the one book that helps me to organize my entire life. And so I am going to be doing some videos with you in the next couple of days on my planning for quarter 2, because I'm about to get ready to start planning for the next quarter. And so we will be doing some different videos on that. But if you're interested in any of my content, please subscribe here. Please like this video and give it a thumbs up. It does help me with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and dive into today's class. And so what are the warning signs that you probably need this class? What are the warning signs? What are the things that we have to kind of pay attention to? If you are constantly overspending in certain categories, meaning that every time you get money, it is slipping through your hands. There are certain categories that you are constantly overspending in. It could be shopping, it could be eating out, but it is constantly happening. That could be a sign that you may not know your money script and you may have a challenge with reining in yourself, with reining in your financial behaviors. The second warning sign is you feel restricted. Maybe you feel very restricted, you feel abandoned by your budget. You usually will leave it in the halfway of the month. You are not trying to stick to the budget. It feels icky to try and stick to it. Usually it feels very overwhelming and you will leave the process. The third warning sign is unexpected expenses are always ruining your plan, meaning that you have a plan, you have something that you have put in place, but something always comes up. And so even though you feel like you're budgeting and you're trying to do all the things right, you're always getting thrown off. And this could be a sign that we may not know something about your behavior. We may not be factoring in something into your budget that we need to factor in. And it is causing you to not be able to stay on track with your money. The next warning sign is that you are not making progress on savings, any debt repayment, all of the financial goals that you have in place. You're not making any progress on them. You are still feeling the exact same. You're still feeling stuck in every single one of these. Then that could be an indication that it's a warning sign that you may not know your money script. And the last one is you dread budgeting. You don't like looking at the numbers. You don't like actually writing things down. It feels like such a chore to you to do this process. If you have any one of these warning signs, please let me know in the chat box. I would love to hear from you. I would love to get some feedback on these warning signs. But this is some of the things that I noticed in my patterns is that sometimes I was really good with my budget. Sometimes I was good at setting everything up. I was so focused on my goal. And then I would say something would happen. One thing would throw my budget off, and then I would get in a big slump, or I wouldn't want to budget anymore, or I would feel like overwhelmed with the budgeting process. And so this was a warning sign that I had some other financial behaviors going on. Something else was causing me to feel a certain way about my money. And since I was feeling this way, it was causing me to not want to do anything. It was causing me not to want to do anything. And it's because one of the money scripts that we are going to talk about was manifesting in my money journey. It was showing itself, and I didn't realize it was a money script. I thought it was genuinely how I was feeling, but I wasn't thinking that it was because of my background, my behavior. Like, I didn't think that it had anything to do with my history or my personality or my background, I was thinking I'm doing something wrong. I'm clearly doing something wrong and I need to figure out how to fix it. And so, if you have any of these signs, or if you have almost all of them, then hopefully this class is really helpful for you, because this class is where we're going to talk about all four of the money scripts, and we're going to give you specifics and signs around each one of them so that I can show you how these things are manifested through the scripts that we are going to talk about. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it. How do you know that knowing your money script is going to help you? Well, it will help you because it's going to help you to face your finances head on. Like I said, many times we will run from money. We will not look at it. We will dread the budgeting process. We will stop budgeting altogether, all of those things. But once we know these scripts, then we know, okay, I kind of have a sense of what's going on. I kind of have an idea of why I might be feeling like this. I kind of have more like tools at my aid so that I don't automatically fall off every time one of these things happen. Another thing that we will know is that our knowing our money script will help us to shift our focus from chasing money and running after money to being more wise with it, to thinking more clearly around it, to budgeting what really matters, to thinking about our future and saving for it differently and slowing down. This was a big part of my money journey, is just learning how to slow down. I was struggling with slowing down and just taking my time with my budget. As soon as money hit my account, I felt like I had to hurry up and pay bills, hurry up and do this, hurry up and buy that, hurry up, because I just got paid and I think I was afraid that the money was just going to like disappear out of my account. But I wasn't being as strategic or thinking as clearly because I was so focused on trying to hurry up and pay down a credit card or pay down bills that it's almost like I was operating out of fear with my money. And so knowing your money script will actually help you with that process and help you to slow down and be a little bit more wise. It can also help you to detach your identity from your money. So many times we will attach our financial security. We will attach how worthy we believe we are, or how much we believe that we look wealthy because of the amount of money that we have. And so this will help us with that frame of thought, and it will also help you to balance your financial security with enjoying your life, because this is a constant battle. It's a battle of, okay, I need to do this now so that I can go out and I can have fun and I can enjoy myself, along with I also need to save for the future and have money for retirement and do what I need to do there, right? So there is a balance between the two, and many times we are trying to figure out what that balance is. And so knowing your money script will definitely help you with that as well. So first money script is money avoidance. And Michelle, I think you said it almost directly. I dread budgeting and avoid looking at the numbers. So this one might be yours. This one might be yours. So what is money avoidance? Money avoidance is the subconscious belief that money is bad and having money and having wealth is wrong. People who usually have this money script, they usually feel a lot of guilt, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety around money, and they often just avoid dealing with it altogether. So most of the times, if you have the money avoidance script, you will avoid doing your budget at all costs. This is mostly for those of us who will hurry up, pay the bills, and then just leave the money. Whatever else is left is basically mine. I'll spend, I'll do whatever I want to do, but more than likely, I'm not going to try and put money on savings. I'm not going to look at my credit cards. I'm avoiding my credit cards at all costs. I don't want to even pay attention to them. I want to act like they don't exist because they overwhelm me. They give me a lot of anxiety. And so when this happens, we need to kind of handle that in a certain way. And so what are the signs? How do you know if you have money avoidance? Well, the first sign is You ignore your bank statements. You're not looking at your bank statements. You're not thinking about your financial situation because it's very overwhelming. You believe that the money can cause greed or corruption. You might believe that wealthy people are unethical, right? And so this is just a thought process of, oh, we shouldn't need as much money. You feel guilty for just having money. You may want to give it away pretty quickly. You might avoid budgeting, avoid investing, avoid planning for the future because it's just really, really stressful. It feels very overwhelming. You might spend impulsively or live paycheck to paycheck as a way to get rid of money. So basically, this idea is for those of us who don't like to check our bank accounts in the morning. You don't like the budget, you don't like to check your bank accounts, you don't want to check in, you don't want to even deal or look at any of that stuff, and that is because you're avoiding it. You are completely avoiding it. And when we avoid it, what does it do? It affects our financial planning. So usually we will have a lot more debt than we may want to. We will have some financial insecurity. You may miss out on opportunities because you are not going to be actually financially planning. You're just kind of letting it go. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not trying to be too focused on one thing or another. I am literally just trying to pay my bills and kind of keep it going. You also usually have a fear of money discussions. You don't like to talk about money, right? You want to avoid even the conversation of money. So I had this particular, I have pretty much all of these money scripts in certain aspects. But this particular one, I feel like is one of my main ones. I used to thrive off of money avoidance. So one of the things that like I would hurry up and pay for something just to avoid the conversation around that particular thing. Okay, it's okay. I got it. Don't even worry about it because I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to try and negotiate. I don't want to, even with jobs. If I'm up for a promotion, whatever they told me that number was, then that was the number. I was okay with it because I didn't want to negotiate. I didn't want to them to think that I was greedy or I wanted more than I might have been actually worth. And so many times I would fear money discussions. I didn't want to have them. And that is money avoidance. So if you avoid money discussions with your spouse, you avoid having it with family members. Maybe you can't afford to go on this vacation with your friends, but you feel obligated. You feel like you have to do it because, or you're afraid to say something. You're afraid to say, hey, I can't do that. You might have spending guilt. A lot of times this money avoidance may cause a lot of buyer's remorse, meaning that, okay, so I don't want, I might buy stuff, but I'm actually living beyond my means. So I'm not saving any money and I'm just kind of doing this paycheck to paycheck thing. It's a guilty pleasure that we may have. And we're usually ignoring our money management. So we don't have any money routines. We don't have a set time that we're looking at our budget. We don't have a payday routine. We don't have a monthly routine. We're just kind of going with the flow when it comes to the money because we are avoiding it at all costs. So most times when you have this particular money script, you are reactionary, meaning that you are going to react after the things have already happened. So after you get in a financial bind, after something already happened, now we are looking at the money. Now we get serious about the money instead of being proactive, instead of trying to look and see how we could possibly prevent something from happening. So all of this can affect your money because you probably are not going to be saving. You're not managing your debt well. This affects your money drastically and it hurts what you are able to do in the future. And so that is what the money avoidance script can definitely do. And the ways that you could possibly cope with money avoidance. And let me make this a little bit bigger so I can make sure y'all can see this. The first thing is you need to shift your mindset. So this one is a little bit more challenging. I feel like once you have a certain money script, it doesn't completely go away. I have this particular one and it does not go away completely. I have been able to manage it a little bit better. So I really try and reframe my thinking as it's not thinking that, oh, having money makes you greedy or having money makes you a certain thing. It also allows you to be a blessing to more people, right? It helps you to create security for your family. And so just reframing or rethinking about how you're thinking about money. If I avoid this, this is not going to help me. So let me take small steps. Let me just check my bank account every single morning. And let me track my spending without any judgment. I'm not going to judge myself for the amount that I have currently spent. I'm just writing it down. I am just keeping track. I'm not going to make any judgment about what I should be doing better or how I shouldn't have spent this money this place. Just write it down. The next thing that you could do that's going to help you to cope a little bit better with the money script of avoidance is creating a simple budget. If you have something that is a little bit more simple, viewing your budget more as a way to give yourself freedom and not restriction. So instead of having a budget where we don't have no shopping at all, no entertainment, no restaurants, no, I find that it's much, much better if we give ourselves a little bit more of wiggle room, if we allow ourselves to see, okay, I can add $100 into my shopping budget. I can add $50 into my restaurant budget. You do not have to limit how much you are able to spend just because you're on a budget. Setting small financial goals. So, setting small minimal goals is really helpful. This helped me with my savings goals. And I put the example of just saving $5 a week. But I used to do that. I used to save $50 every single time I got paid. And then as it came a little bit longer, I was able to do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So the idea is you feel like you can't do it, you can't do anything, or you feel like you're not doing enough. So then you decide to not do anything. And what we're trying to kind of reverse is that all or nothing thought process. What we really want is for you to start small. Because if you start small, then you'll see how you can kind of build up on that habit. And once you build up on that habit, then it becomes easier and easier to actually do this on a consistent level. And you'll start to raise that bar. So you start off with 5, then you're able to do 10. You do 10, and then now you turn it into 20, and then 20 becomes 25. Next thing you know, you are saving 10% of every single payday, right? And you are on track to your financial goals. So definitely try and do this. The biggest thing that helped me with my money avoidance is practicing gratitude. So I thank God all the time for my resources, for the ability to make money, for the opportunities that come my way, for the mindset to use my money and manage it wisely, to the ability to help me to maintain it. I am constantly trying to like reiterate and tell myself that I am good with this, that I can do this, that this is not hard, that I am not, I may be overwhelmed, but I am okay. I am safe. I'm at peace. I can do this. And that does help me overall. So I do have a quote here, and this is specifically for you who do have money avoidance. And it says, money itself is not good or bad. We got to remember it's not good or bad. It's how you use it that matters. So if you use it in a positive way, then it's going to be wonderful for you. If you use it in a negative way, then it's going to be negative. That's just kind of like how money is. It's not good or bad. It just is. And so I see Helene says, I think I can relate to avoiding my bank statements and spending impulsively. Yeah, most of the times, that's what a lot of us will do. I used to do it all the time. I would pay my bills, and then that was it. I wasn't setting aside money for savings. I wasn't trying to pay extra on my credit cards. I was just kind of avoiding it all the way that I possibly could. And then on the back end, when something would happen, I would get reactionary. I would be very upset that something happened, and then I would go too far to the opposite side, right? So then I was like, oh, I'm gonna save every single penny and I'm not going out at all. But it was just an extreme reaction to what was currently going on. And so it's a balance. It's a balance. We don't need to do one version or the other. We really have to take small steps and practice as much gratitude as we possibly can. All right, money script two. The second money script is money worship. So if you've heard of money worship before, let me know in the chat. But money worship is the belief that more money will solve all your problems. So we think as long as I get more money, I am going to be very happy, right? People with this money script often believe that they can just earn, they can save, they could spend more. If they did one of these things or all of these things, they will feel better. They will feel financially secure. They will feel successful. They will feel fulfilled. They believe that if I am able to do this, then all my problems will go away. And we all know that that's not the case, but a lot of times it feels like as long as I get more money, that's going to answer everything. That's going to answer all of my problems. So, what most of the time, what do you believe here? You believe that having more money will automatically lead to happiness and success. Now, let me put in a caveat here. I do want to also say that there is a certain level of money that you need in order to hit your baseline. So does money make you happy? It's kind of a convoluted question because it does up to a certain point. And the reason why is because when we have a certain amount of money, we are able to cover our basic needs. When we're able to cover our basic needs, food, shelter, like that gives us a sense of security, that gives us a sense of happiness, that gives us a sense of well-being that we definitely need. So we have our five Maslow, the law, the needs that we absolutely have. But then there's a cap. There is a certain amount of money that once we make more than this amount, no more amount of money will make us more happy. And for in the United States, I think right now that number is around 70,000, to where if you make 70,000 or more, then more than likely you've kind of hit your baseline of happiness, and more money is not going to make you more happy. Now, of course, that depends on where you live, if that's meeting all of your needs. But I did want to mention that because sometimes when we say, oh, money doesn't make you happy, it's like, well, it does up to a certain point, because money can definitely help with your health, your well-being, your overall ability to be able to do the basic things that you need in your life. But then once we talk about anything above that, that's when we start to look at money worship. That's when we're possibly teetering in on money worship. So what are the different things that you may believe? You believe that more money might lead to more happiness. You constantly think about making more money, even when technically you have enough. You have enough to cover all of your needs. You have what you need, but you feel like you still need more. You may impulsively spend money and believe that it might bring you more joy, but that feeling usually fades. So usually it's this high and low of, I feel really, really good. I feel really happy. And then I kind of go back to my baseline. You may feel like you never have enough, no matter how much you earn. So no matter how much more money you make, you still feel like you need to make more. Even after you just got the raise, you want to make more. You may neglect relationships. You may neglect your health. You may neglect personal values in pursuit of more money. And so at the end of the day, for you, you just want to have that bottom line. And like I told y'all at the beginning of this class, I feel like I have been in every one of these money scripts at a certain time in my life, at a certain season in my life. And I would want to say probably like maybe 10 years ago, I believed this. I just was like, man, if we hit this income, then we're going to be good. If we hit this amount of money, then I'm going to feel better. Then I'm going to feel more secure. I'm going to feel like we are in the best financial space. And what would happen? We would always hit that amount, and then I would just change the bar. I would raise it. I would make it a new number. And it is because we just end up adjusting with our life. Lifestyle inflation happens. And Once we make that certain amount of money, we find other things, and then we start to dream about even more things that we could possibly have. And I did a short on this, I want to say last week, and it's called the hedonic treadmill, the hedonic treadmill. And I'll put that in the chat box because I want y'all to look it up if y'all get a chance. But the hedonic treadmill basically says that we all have a baseline of happiness. We all have a baseline of happiness. And this is our baseline. If you are naturally unhappy, you're probably going to come back to that baseline. If you are naturally a very happy person, you'll probably come always back to this baseline. So what happens is when something really good, when we make more money, when we get a promotion, we get really happy because we are like, oh my goodness, this wonderful thing happens. It increases our happiness, but it increases our happiness for only a short period of time. After a while, after we get used to the new house, we get used to the car, we get used to the new job or the promotion, we come back to our baseline because now we're just used to having those things. And we are going to stay at our baseline until something negative. And if something negative happens, we're unhappy again. We lost our job, we lost something, we lost our house, we're unhappy. And then we find our way back to our baseline. So the idea behind the hedonic treadmill is always to improve your baseline. If I am naturally a happy person, then I will always come back to that baseline of happiness. And that's where I want to be. The problem is that sometimes we are naturally more unhappy. We may be a little bit more negative. We might get focused in on a certain thing that we believe we should have, say, whatever. And that's when we get focused in on that thing making us happy. And that is usually not the case. And so when this happens, sometimes what will end up happening is we end up in money worship. We end up in money worship. So here are some signs of money worship. We have overspending and debt. We're usually buying things for temporary happiness that lead us to financial instability. We are not stable with our finances because we keep buying random things, looking in pursuit of happiness. We're a workaholic. We are stressed out. We're constantly chasing money. We are constantly looking for more money, but then this leads us to burnout, strained relationships. We're not spending time with the people we love. We're just kind of focused in on just trying to make more money, and we're workaholics. The third sign, impulsive buying, meaning that you just instantly just are seeking fulfillment. You're trying to buy random things. Oh, I'm gonna run here and go pick this up. I'm gonna go and head here and I'm gonna get me a new outfit. I'm gonna buy me some new shoes. And yes, it makes you feel good, but like I said, it's only temporary. It's the hedonic treadmill. It's only for a certain amount of time, and then we come back, and then you get back to your baseline. And the last one is neglecting long-term goals. Neglecting long-term goals, meaning that we are focusing only on one income. And we don't think about saving. We're not thinking about investing habits. We're not thinking about what we could do in the long term because we're just so focused in on making money usually one particular way. So if you feel like this might be someone you know or yourself, let me know in the chat box. I'm just interested. Like I said, I feel like I've had all four of these in different areas, and sometimes it still kind of comes up for me in different areas. So the quote around this one that we're just trying to remind ourselves is that money is a tool, not the end goal. So once again, we just have to remember that money is a tool. It's not the end goal. True wealth really does come from contentment, come from faith, come from financial wisdom. It does not just come from increasing income. It's not about how much money we have. It is literally just the whole well-being of us as people. Once we get that stable line, once we have the relationships, usually we will find more happiness in our relationships than we will in any income or extra money that we could possibly make. So, how do you cope if you do have money worship? If you do have an issue or a challenge in this area, what are some of the things that you can do? Remember that your true happiness is going to come from your faith, is going to come from your purpose, is going to come from financial stewardship. It's not going to come just from money. More than likely, I have found people who, no matter how much money they make, at the end of the day, their relationships are what really drive them, and it's driving their happiness. If they have solid relationships with the people that they love, they are truly enjoying life, and it really has nothing to do with how much money they actually have. The next thing is define enough. Define enough. So this was something else I talked about in another, I want to say it was another class. That might have been last year. But we were talking about just defining enough. And I know that this might seem like a weird concept or something to say, because many times the idea is to always go after more. It's always chasing more. Oh, once you make this money, you need to make more money. And once you make that money, you got to make more and more and more. And we just end up on this endless treadmill of trying to continuously increase our income. But if you have clear financial goals, if you have genuinely thought about how much do you need to put into saving, how much do you need to have a fully funded emergency fund, how much do you need to have for short-term savings, and how much do you need there? So for me, for instance, long-term savings is 6 months of emergency fund. So if I know if I have 6 months of savings in my emergency fund, I feel good about my emergency fund. That is enough. If I have about 2 months or 1 month in my short term savings account, then I know that is enough, because I will be able to cover any emergency that could possibly come up. And I will be able to cover anything that happens with my income for over 6 months. And I already said, okay, I want to make sure that I am contributing to my investment accounts. I'm just putting money into my investment accounts every single month and keeping down our debt. But defining enough, defining what's the number that you need, how much do you need to pay off, thinking through what that number is and how much it could possibly be would definitely help you with this process. Because now, instead of me constantly pursuing for forever how, like, this certain amount of money, I have an idea of how exactly much I need. The next thing is making intentional purchases, making intentional purchases. So before you're spending money, start to ask yourself, will this bring lasting value to my life? Do I need this? Do I need to keep this forever? Is this something that I'm doing temporarily? What is my goal? And then the last thing is balancing your work and your life, making sure that your financial goals also align with your personal and your spiritual well-being. How do they line together? Making sure that I'm not just doing this just for money. I am doing something because I love it. I am doing something because I believe I am called to do this particular thing. That is definitely important in this process. The third money script, the third one is money status. So this one's kind of like money worship, but it's slightly different, because in money status, you believe that your personal self-worth is tied in with your net worth. People with this money script usually often equate this one to financial success with personal success. So I believe you are a well-functioning adult if you are rich. So this happens a lot of times when we will look at someone who is rich and we assume that they don't have any problems, that they have a certain lifestyle, so life must be wonderful for them. But when we have this type of script, what will usually happen is when something happens with us, when something happens overall in our life, then we will think that, oh, I'm not worth anything, or I'm not worth a certain thing, because I'm telling myself that my well-being, my status, my self-worth is tied to directly to how much money I have. If I have more money, then yes, I am doing better in my life. And so this is something that we definitely have to work on and worry about. Because if you do have this particular one, here are some things that you may believe. One, you believe that wealth is determined a person's success, a person's value. You may start to judge other people based on how much they make and what they do. You often compare financial situation to others in order to kind of keep up. You want to have the same house, you want to go on the same trips, you are looking to do the same things that other people are doing. You are watching people on social media, and if they don't go on vacation, you want to go on vacation too. And this one can be very dangerous because you could feel very embarrassed about your financial struggles. You can avoid asking for help, which could get you in even more financial trouble, right? You might go into a lot of debt just to maintain your certain lifestyle because you want to keep up this appearance, you want to keep up this look. And so instead of like with money worship, we are just like, oh, if I just get more money, more money, more money. With money status, even if we don't have the money, we just want to look like we do. We just want to consistently look like we have it. And so that is why we will do that. So the signs of this one is you may be overspending in debt, right? You're buying a lot of things just to impress other people, and this can definitely lead to instability. You also have a fear of financial transparency because people, if we look under the hood, if we actually look and see how much money you have, it does not align with the appearance that you may give. And so you may avoid having money conversations. You may just kind of avoid talking to family and friends about it, but you do have this look where most people will just assume that you have a lot of money. You have lifestyle inflation, meaning that the more you earn, usually the more you're going to spend to kind of keep up those appearances, to let people think that you definitely have it. And you struggle with contentment. You have a hard time feeling just happy and grateful for where you are because you're constantly looking for the next upgrade. You constantly want to do the next best thing. So, how do we cope? How do you cope with money status? First thing that you have to do is detach from your self-worth of money. This one is really challenging. It's challenging, but you have to start to kind of separate yourself from who you are and what you do. So the one of the best ways to do this I have found helped me on my journey is when I started to like try and introduce myself, unless I was asked, I would try not to automatically group myself with my job. I might say, oh, I'm Elena, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'll stick to those things. Now, most times the conversation is going to end up on what I do anyway. But I would try my best to not to link it to who I am as a person. Like I am deeper than just the things that I do for work. And so that is so like kind of like subconsciously rewriting and telling yourself, hey, this matters a little bit less than I think the emphasis that I'm putting on it. I'm putting on so much emphasis on how much I make and what I do. And I'm trying to separate myself from that. Separate yourself, your self-worth from the money that you make. The next thing is setting real financial goals. So, focusing on the long term stability over your short term image. So, instead of shopping, instead of us buying the nicest car, the nicest house, we are thinking about the total picture. We're thinking about retirement. We're thinking about the long term goals that we might want to do. We're also thinking about savings and widening that picture instead of just thinking about what I want to buy this week or what I want to make sure that I have on my new outfit or whatever. If I expand it, then I start to think about all of the other things that I may want to accomplish and do. It does make this a little bit easier. Number 3, stop comparing. Please, if you need to get off or do a social media detox, especially if you have this particular money script, it is definitely, I highly recommend that you just kind of pause on social media because social media can definitely trap you into comparison. And now you're constantly looking at people and looking at other things and just trying to see how you could possibly, it's natural for you to compare. Then I would say, yes, get off of social media for a little bit. Live below your means. prioritize your financial freedom over any appearance that it might give, and embrace humility, embrace authenticity. True success is really about your faith, your relationships, your purpose. It is not about your financial status. And so this is might be something that you just have to constantly tell yourself over and over and over. Hey, my worth is not measured by how much money I have. It is not what measured by that. I am financially secure, and that is from my wisdom, my stewardship, my purpose. But it has nothing to do with just what the number is in the bank. And so that is going to take you some time to kind of work through, but it is definitely something that you should look at doing, especially if you have this money script. This one can really take a toll on our overall mental health as well. So let's talk about the last one. The last one, money script 4, is money vigilance. Money vigilance. Money vigilance is the belief that financial security is the most important priority, leading to extreme caution around spending, saving, and discussing money. People with this money script are highly responsible with their finances. They're usually really, really good, but they may struggle to enjoy their money. They may struggle to trust others with financial matters. And so this is probably the latest one that I had a struggle with. And I'm really trying my best to come out of this one now, but it's the same thing as, okay, as long as I'm financially secure, then nothing else really matters. Now, like that sounds like a really good script to have, but even though you may be really, really responsible, you also could go down the line of still ending up in money worship or money status, because you have a hard time just enjoying life. You have a hard time just enjoying your family and not working because you're so focused in on this financial stability, which I feel like any one thing can throw off your stability at all times. So it's kind of it's like a fake safe stability that we have from time to time. But many times we will have certain rules, certain things in our head, and we'll say, as long as I have this, then I am okay. And many times with money vigilance, we are really, really focused in on having a certain number in the bank that we won't allow ourselves to even enjoy our money at any point in time. So here are some signs that you believe that financial security is more important than enjoying your money. So you are super focused in on just making sure that you have financial security, and you don't need to enjoy. We don't need to go out. We don't need to have fun. We're good. You feel anxious about spending, even if it's for something you need or enjoy. You prioritize saving over everything else, even at the cost of experiences or generosity. You hesitate to invest or take financial risks because you fear losing money. You avoid talking about money with others, and you believe it should remain private. So you are not the one that's going to share. You are very afraid of talking about it. And financial security is number one for you. So even if your spouse wants to do something, your kids want to do something, the family, and it's a once in a lifetime experience, you are more likely to say no. You are more likely to be like, nope, I'm nervous. I want to make sure that I am financially stable at all costs. The challenge with this process is that sometimes we will forego something that we should have said yes to, because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're never going to have this time again. Maybe your kids will never be this age again. You are so focused in on protecting the future that you are not enjoying the present. And so this is why we need this balance. This is why it's not all or none. This is why, yes, financial security is the goal, but not at all costs. Sometimes we will sacrifice relationships just trying to hold on to money, and that is not something that we definitely want to do. I'm having a hard time saving. And so if you're having a hard time saving, it may end up being like one of the earlier ones that we were talking about, where it could possibly be money avoidance. Because with money avoidance, we usually will avoid trying to look at money altogether. We'll avoid our bank account. We'll avoid looking at our spending. We kind of avoid it all. And so small steps. If you have a problem saving anything, start with $5, start with $10. And yes, it's not going to help you like automatically be able to pay for everything, but that will build your habit. And that is what we're really focusing in on this time, is building the habit of saving, especially if you're having a problem, just letting it sit there. If you transfer $5 every single time you get paid, you're more than likely going to let it sit there, because what is $5 going to do, right? It's almost like spending it on a meal or spending it on coffee. So that's easier for you to kind of keep in that separate account. And then it builds on that habit, which will help you in the long run. This is me. I've even struggled with automating my bills for fear. Yeah, and I know a lot of people who struggle with the automation of bills, because you're just so nervous and you're so focused in on making sure that you have a certain amount of money in the bank, that sometimes it will lead to you getting too reliant on that amount. Right. And so now you don't want to automate your bills. You don't want to do, and it's not that you have to. You may not like, sometimes people just don't like having another company being able to access their actual account, and they don't want any type of mistakes. They want to make sure. That's why I have separated my bill account and my spending money. I will usually only keep the amount of money for bills in that particular account, just in case, right? But yes, you're talking about them being able to have access. It could be that type of challenge. But sometimes it's just the anxiety around having, having a certain amount less in your account. I know people who would pay bills late just to keep a certain amount of money in their account. And so we just have to monitor why. What's the reason why? Is knowing that you're financially stable means that, yeah, so you could be definitely content. But in this case, when we're talking about money vigilance, we are talking about people who have a hard time enjoying money, meaning that they will forego any relationship, anything that they any possible hiccup for money. And so that is where we are kind of in the struggle, because like, as you can see, the second one, it says you feel anxious about spending even when it's for something that you need. You could possibly need this thing, or you just really enjoy this thing, and you are still struggling with actually getting it. And so that is less of you being content and more of you sacrificing or over sacrificing, when you probably should just pay for that particular thing. And that's why it can kind of cater on more of a dangerous side of just, I'm just not going to go on anything. I'm just not going to enjoy my life. I'm not going to do the experience. I'm not going to be generous, because I'm so focused in on just having this money in my bank account. So how does this show up? Usually you have excessive frugality. We're very, very frugal around here. You avoid reasonable expenses. You avoid anything that's going to lead to a certain quality of life. You're avoiding it at all costs. You have a fear, a really, really real fear of financial loss. You don't want to invest. You may prolong or prevent long-term growth. You just are so afraid to lose money that you're kind of hoarding it, that you're holding on to it with dear life. You're difficult with generosity. You don't want to be generous as often as you possibly should, and you are stressed out around money. You're very stressed out. So how do we cope? How do we cope with this money script? We find balance. Saving is great. We love saving around here. But we got to make sure that we're doing it wisely, that we're not trying to save every single penny of all times. We have to practice mindful spending. We have to be pretty much like, we have to think through why we are doing this, why we are spending money, and how does it align with my values. We have to embrace smart investing. We can't be scared to invest. We have low risk investments that help us with our overall wealth. We also can't be afraid to help other people or be generous. And we have to trust ourselves. If you're making this financial decision, then more than likely it's going to be a wise decision. You have to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You have to think that, hey, I can always make more money. Money is circular. It's supposed to be spent. It's supposed to be saved. It's supposed to do all of the things. And if I am trying to hold on to it in one area, more than likely I'm going to be hurting another area. So try your best not to hoard. That's the whole point of this one. We have to find a healthy balance between saving and enjoying life. And that's the only way that you have real financial peace, real true contentment. All right. So that is the last one. Let's talk about how you can apply all of these to your life. So there are the 4 money scripts that we talked about today. You kind of can figure out, based on those types of things that we talked about, the signs under each one, which one or two, you might have a mixture of all 4 of them. How do you, and so if you know you have them, identify your top one, possibly put them in order, and then track your spending and your patterns. Know where, like, notice, you can start to notice when you have a certain money belief, when it's coming up in a certain money decision. Challenge that limited belief, challenge the way that you are thinking, create a budget around the different things that you love and that you actually want to do. Practice those healthy financial habits. Start to actually look at your money on a consistent basis. So those money habits might be building out a money morning routine, having a monthly routine, having a weekly routine, just having some type of consistency with your money, and seek balance. Make sure that you seek balance. Your goal is financial freedom. It is not restriction. It is also not excess. We're not trying to have it all. We're not trying to have nothing. We are trying to have a good flow to the things and the way that we handle our money. So remember this, your money script does not define you. It's just your starting point. It is just the beginning. Once you recognize it, you can rewrite your financial story and create a money plan that aligns with your faith, it aligns with your values, it aligns with your goals. It is much easier for you to stick to a financial goal if you have allowed it to align with your faith, align with your emotions, align with your personal goals and your values and your family goals. Once you are able to align all of those, it becomes much, much, much easier. Much easier for you to actually stick to your budget and to stick to your spending and all of the other things that you're doing. All right. So just wanted to let you all know that my books are now open. If you would like to book a one-on-one, it is now open. I will leave it as a pinned comment after I jump off live today, but my Calendly is The Organized Money, and you can book from any one of these services. So if you want me to help create a custom planner for you, that one's on there. We also could talk about life organization, like time management, business organization, or money organization, whatever one you are looking at. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box right now. I love saving money, but sometimes I have a difficult time balancing my accounts and figuring out my sinking funds. Essentially, I feel like I can be even better if I knew better. I also hoard money. Yeah. So Lauren, one thing that you can do, especially around the sinking funds, is separate them out in another type of way. So for instance, with my sinking funds, I usually will pull them out of the ATM. I found that that's much easier for me than trying to operate just a complete separate account and transfer money into there. I found myself moving the money back really, really quickly. But what I would do is I have my cash envelope. And so now I will save money throughout the month in my cash envelope. I will update it here. And then every time I save a certain amount, I will just put it behind there. So the way that I am doing my sinking funds, I will take out cash for my spending. And then whatever I have left over at the end of the week, I will usually move it over into my sinking fund account. And that has been the best way that's been helping me to save, because I don't usually have extra money. But if I have money left over from just not spending money, then I will use that to save. So Hopefully that helps you. And also, if you have a hard time figuring out how much you should be saving, look and see how much you spent on that thing last year. That's usually a good roundabout number. So usually for me, like for instance with back to school, if you spent $300 last year on back to school, maybe you want to save like 350 just in case for inflation and anything else that could possibly come up. I do have the cash envelope in my shop, so I will link that one below as well, but it is my cash envelope. I have it in my Etsy shop if you're interested in it. All right. So thank you all so much for jumping on with me. I think in our next live next week, we might be diving into getting ready for planning or organizing for the second quarter. So I'm going to be organizing and kind of getting prepared for the second quarter. Y'all know with my Tom 90 planner, I like to plan in quarterly increments. So this will be the end of the first quarter at the end of March. So now that January, February, March is over, now we're going to be setting up plans and trying to figure out what April, May, and June is going to look like. And so that is going to be probably within my next video so that we could dive into that. I can show you all what I'm going to be using for the second quarter, how I'm going to be switching it up a little bit so that I can make sure that I stay as organized as possible. So we're going to talk about that in my next one. And if y'all have any questions or need any of the links from this particular class, I will leave them down below. I'll talk to you all in my next one. Keep organizing your life so that you can achieve your dreams. Bye, guys.